Harass my daughter on Minecraft? You can't hide from me. So my daughter, who was about 8 at the time, was really into Minecraft, as most kids are these days. Also, desperately wanting to join the YouTube Let's Play culture, I installed some screen recording software that would let her make videos of the games she was playing, so she could later upload them to YouTube. Anyways, one day I'm minding my own business when I hear her quietly sniffling over on the computer. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't want to tell me, so I let it go, but decided to keep an eye on her. A few minutes later, I discovered what was happening. Someone was harassing not only her, but also all of the other kids playing on whatever server she was on. This kid, we'll call him Little Shithead, or LS, was saying shit about how he was going to rape my 8-year-old daughter. She told him how old she was, hoping he would stop, how he was going to hack her IP and steal her info, swearing profusely, remember that this is a game for kids, and etc, etc. By this time I had gotten my fiancée involved, and she was obviously quite upset at what a little S this kid was being. We realized that our daughter had been recording the entire incident, and a plan began to form. I started Googling LS's username. There were several hits immediately, and most interesting of which involved a page where he was publicly applying to be a mod for a server on Minecraft. I was able to learn a lot about this little POS. He claimed to be 15, likes hockey, used to live in Toronto but now lives in Florida, but the bombshell was easily his Skype contact info. It was literally first name dot last name. I know your name now, you little S. So I head over to Facebook and search his name. Nothing. On a hunch, I searched for just the last name, while narrowing my results to only the state of Florida. Several dozen hits. So I had to start combing through each one until I find what I was looking for. A middle-aged man with the same last name, whose profile indicates that he was born in Toronto and now lives in Florida. I found your dad, you little S. So I sent him a message on Facebook asking if he had a son with first name who goes by username on Minecraft. Dad confirmed that I had the right guy. So my wife begins telling the dad everything that the little S was saying to my daughter. And we sent him the recording as proof. Radio silence for a few days. Then we got the message back. Little S had his computer taken away for him for the entire summer. And had also been lying about his age. He was only 11, I think. His parents were effing livid with him, and he surely hated the next few months of his life. No one F's with my daughter. Some long edits, but I'll skip to... Also, I would like to point out that while I understand that Minecraft isn't just for kids, there are some serious hardcore Minecrafters out there. I can tell you that probably the biggest demographic is on the younger side. I know that people of all ages play games, but I feel like Minecraft is one that people can reasonably expect to be rather civil. Top comment says... You might also talk to your daughter about cyberbullying and show her how to ban, mute, block future little shits. Second highest comment, you got an 11-year-old's computer taken away for a summer. That's like 15-year jail sentence in adult years. Pro indeed, you're a good dad. Another comment says, I'm actually really happy that LS's dad was a really decent guy that handled this appropriately, and I'm glad your daughter has proof that you will protect her. Neighbor sued me for harassing my dog for months, lost horribly. Several commenters told me that you guys would enjoy this story. About 6 or 7 months ago, my neighbor got a drone. I don't mind people having hobbies, but for some reason he insisted on flying like the biggest jerk possible. He would hover in front of other houses and windows, try to race cars down the street, and worst of all, he had a habit of flying his drone in my fenced backyard buzzing over my dog, diving low just over my dog's head before circling around to do it again. My dog isn't small, he's about 70 pounds and Malamute. But the drone terrified him, and I was worried what would happen if it hit him. I asked my neighbor several times to please not fly in my yard and explained that it was scaring my dog. He basically told me to get lost and laughed in my face. When it still continued, I called the police. Unfortunately, there wasn't much that they could do other than ask him to please not fly over my house or property. Finally, in late December, it happened. My dog got tired of his shit and managed to catch the drone right as it was flying towards him. He shredded the drone. The thing was just a jumbled mess of wires and plastic. The neighbor was pissed. He stormed over to my house swearing and threatening me, which I ignored. A week later, I got a summons to small claims court. He wanted $900 for the cost of his drone, and an additional $300 for supposedly denying him access to his property. The drone sat in my yard for a couple hours before it was retrieved. F that. He could have killed my dog. I don't have kids or a girlfriend. I just have my dog, who is my best friend for the past 7 years. That dog has moved with me 3 times. Was there when I graduated college. Saw me buy my first house and my first new car. I love my dog. I went to legal advice and got some great help from them. Turns out, him suing me was the best thing that could have ever happened. When we got to small claims court, the judge basically laughed away his claim that I had intentionally trained my dog to attack his drone. Because dogs can fly, you know. But little did he know, I was prepared. I had dozens of photos of my yard showing it was impossible for him to accidentally fly that low to my dog. Videos of him harassing my dog in the past. And I had saved all my medical bills from taking my dog to the vet. $700 for an x-ray? Check. Another $250 to sedate him during? Why not? Don't want him being uncomfortable. Full dental exam with tooth cleaning and repair? $400. Then there was the cost of anti-anxiety meds and a secondary checkup, with wet food for a week in case his teeth hurt, and extra just for good measure. In the end, the asshole ended up owing me $2,000 and is now being investigated by the FAA for not having a registered drone and violating several FAA regulations concerning drone flight. Too near an airport, too close to other people, out of sight of operator, and way above the maximum altitude. Enjoy never being able to fly a drone again, dick. Top comment says, watch out for that. He might try to poison meat bullshit. Might let your dog out of the yard, or take the dog out of your yard if you're not watching. Make sure you put up a security camera on your fence, and be in the yard or watching anytime your dog is out. A response to the comment? OP has put up trail cams covering his whole yard now according to his updated r/legal advice. She hated me and made me think I was an idiot. I don't know if this is ProRevenge, but it certainly is more than petty. In high school 10 years ago, I was quite an attentive student. Teachers liked me, I wasn't popular but I had good friends. I say all this to explain that high school was relatively calm for me. I played sports, was on a student newspaper, and got decent grades. However, that all changed my second semester of junior year. I've always been a voracious reader. My freshman English teacher recommended I move up to the honors English track, so I did for freshman, sophomore, and the first half of junior year. Then I was put into classical literature my second semester junior year. I've always loved Greek and Roman stories, and had already read your typical high school classical reading list on my own. I didn't mind reading them again until I met Miss Umbridge. She put on a sweet facade, but she was downright evil. She also decided she hated me. I still do not know why, or what transgression I committed, but she hated me. I assume it was my habit of sometimes nodding off in class. At the time, I had undiagnosed thyroid issues, and was getting up at 5 a.m. for swim practice. I say sometimes because it happened maybe twice a month total between all 8 classes. I don't remember nodding off in her class, but it could have happened. Anyways, her class was 50% essays and written reports. The rest were random quizzes and a couple tests. I was on a student newspaper, and I was a decent writer. I wasn't worried about maintaining a B or up. We wrote our first paper, and I got a D. I was in shock. The only class I struggled in was chemistry, and still my lowest assignment grade was a C. After class, I asked Miss Umbridge what I did wrong, because her notes were minimal. She told me that my assessment of the material was uninspired. Okay, can you direct me to an example of uninspired assessment? Come back during study hall. Thinking she'd have some example materials for me to review, I got a pass to see her during my study hall. Nope. She spent a full hour basically telling me I was an idiot. I remember leaving and crying, because she didn't tell me anything constructive. My friend, the eventual valedictorian, offered to help on my next paper. My friend and I spent hours on the next paper. She never got below an A- on anything. I got another D. My friend was furious. She took it to her AP English teacher and asked him to review it. She said she was entering a writing competition and wanted advice. He said it was great. Her typical A+ work. My friend, quicker on the uptake, asked me for a copy of my original assignment. She asked her AP English teacher to look it over too, and he said she should enter the first one. This one was still good. He'd probably give it an A-, but the other paper was better. My friend was convinced Miss Umbridge was treating me unfairly for some reason, and she must not like me. My friend wanted to tell my parents or my school counselor. A teacher didn't like me? That had never happened. Sure, they didn't all love me, but none had actively disliked me. I decided I'd try one more time, but this time get Miss Umbridge to help me. Despite the previous horrors of spending study hall with Miss Umbridge, I went to her office during study hall 3 times before the next paper was due. She reviewed the paper and gave me tips on revising it each time. She did this in red pen. I took notes. By the time the next paper was due, I had 3 revised versions with her notes in red ink on each one. I got a D+. She smirked and congratulated me on my improvement. Bitch. I was done. My friend was right. This bitch had it out for me and was giving me shit grades on purpose. I'm a laid-back person, but I was pissed. Never before been this pissed. I took my paper to my newspaper teacher. Sure, he didn't teach English, but our student paper constantly won awards because of his work. I told him I was having trouble in English, and could he please look over my paper and give me advice. He was a little confused as to why I didn't ask my English teacher, but he still did it. He also told me it was great, but gave me a few minor changes to make. I asked him if he thought it was a B or better. He said he'd give me an A. Not 100%, but a solid A. I went to my friend and we brainstormed. I couldn't request a drop or add. This wasn't college. You just don't switch classes at my high school, unless the teacher recommends an honor placement. That's not true, my friend said. The football and basketball guys get moved to easier classes all the time to keep their grades up, so that they are eligible for games. The athletics director was a friend of my dad, so I requested a meeting with him and my swim coach after school one day. I told him I was in danger of losing my eligibility to swim, because I was pulling a D in the class. I wanted to move classes, but I knew I'd need approval from administration, which I wouldn't get without a good reason. They asked me if I had requested help. I explained that I had asked for help from multiple people, but my grade wasn't improving. I didn't know what to do. They asked to see my papers. I sat there while they read them. They both looked at me confused. Neither of them could understand how those papers were only worthy of a D. The student VP was brought in. He asked who helped me. I explained my friend. He knew who she was, again, future valedictorian, and she had even asked her AP English teacher to look it over for advice. I had also asked my newspaper teacher to help me. Student VP then asked if I had ever actually gone to my teacher for help. I smiled and handed in the 3 revised versions of paper number 3 with Miss Umbridge's red ink all over them. He frowned. AP English teacher and my newspaper teacher were pulled into the meeting. They were each asked to grade the papers. All 3 papers got an A- or better. While this was going on, my dad was called in by the athletics director. My dad was pissed. He demanded I be moved to another class and that Miss Umbridge be put under review. Clearly, she wasn't grading students on their work, but on her own personal opinions. The school administration obviously bristled at the accusation that a teacher was treating students unfairly. A lot of arguing that I wasn't allowed to sit in the VP's office. I could hear a lot of yelling as 6 adult men argued over the appropriate next steps. It was decided that myself, my dad, VP, and athletics director would have a meeting with Miss Umbridge. The following morning before school, we all met. Miss Umbridge seemed to think that she was going to tell everyone that I was so stupid. VP explained that if I maintained a D in her class, I would lose my extracurricular eligibility, and we were all meeting to discuss what to do. She smirked and said I should be moved to a non-honors English track, and that I had no business being in honors English. I didn't have the aptitude to understand the complex classical literature that they were studying, and I would probably need a tutor to even get through basic English. I've never seen my father so red, and I half expected to see steam come out of his ears. VP asked why she didn't try to help me improve. She said it was up to the students to put in the initiative to get better. VP asked if that meant that I had never asked her for help. She said I had not. VP then pulled out the 3 revised versions of paper number 3 and handed them to Miss Umbridge. Now it was her turn to be read. She called me a liar and said that those notes weren't hers. Things got heated and I was again asked to leave. I sat outside the office. This time the secretary was there and we both heard the shouting. School was set to start in 30 minutes and they were all just shouting. Then AP teacher and newspaper teacher were called in again. More shouting. About 5 minutes now to the start of classes. The teachers left and I was called back in. If looks could kill, I'd have died then and there when Miss Umbridge walked out of VP's office. I was now being moved to basic English, effective immediately. My current grade would not move over. I would need to make up any past assignments. A new teacher would be instructed to grade me only on the assignments going forward. My new English teacher, Miss Honey, ended up being the English department head. She was at least 65 and had been doing this for decades. After 2.5 years of honors English, this class was easier than PE. I barely had to try to get an A. But I refused to let Miss Honey think Miss Umbridge had been right. I tried harder in that class than any other class that semester. I finished projects so quickly that I was asked to tutor a girl that was struggling in the class. I spent half of the class period just helping this girl understand the material. I helped her go from a C- to a B+. I got something like 104% in the class. At the end of the semester, Miss Honey called me into her office during study hall. She was recommending I return to honors English for senior year. I must have looked panicked, because she assured me Miss Umbridge would not be my teacher. In fact, she would not be anyone's teacher. She was leaving at the end of the school year. Miss Umbridge was only in her late 20s and unmarried, too early to retire, and my high school was in one of the best paying school districts in the state. I knew what leaving meant, but Miss Honey still explained that I was put in her class on purpose. The school administration trusted Miss Honey to determine the truth of Miss Umbridge's claim that I was basically a lying idiot. Miss Honey stated that I very clearly belonged in honors English. She apologized if her class had not been challenging enough for me. I cried. I mean full-on ugly snot cried. I didn't realize it, but part of me had actually believed Miss Umbridge up until that moment. Miss Honey hugged me and consoled me. I spent senior year in honors English and spent my study hall tutoring Miss Honey's struggling students. To this day, I think about that awful woman fairly regularly. My career is strongly writing based, and I still worry obsessively over my writing. I hope she never taught again, because she wreaked havoc on my self-esteem. Edit, I fixed the wreck. Edit times 2. I also want to say I'm sorry to everyone posting their own Miss Umbridge stories. It's sad that so many exist out there, wreaking havoc on self-conscious teens. Don't let your Umbridge keep you down. You are better than Umbridge. Go out and do exactly what your Umbridge said you shouldn't do. Because fork her, the fat dink. Edit times 3. Everyone private messaging me nice things. You are sweet people. Thank you. I promise, though, I am doing okay now. I'm in my 30s with a job I love. I think about this story regularly because of a volunteer organization I take part in. While I have the soapbox, might I recommend? And OP posted a link. It's a great program that helps children practice reading in a safe environment. And OP posted a second link. Love you, you nice folks. Top comment says, this is great and well written. Someone responds asking, would you give it a B+ though? Second highest comment, love the Harry Potter and Matilda references. A response to this comment, 2 of my absolute favorites, so I was especially feeling OP throughout. It felt like Umbridge was doing it to me. And another response for OP, awesome. I love the pseudonyms you gave to teachers too. Please support me by liking and subscribing.